My name is Brianne. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the founder of the Van Life app. We are a mobile platform that helps people find locations and community in the outdoors. So you can find me on Instagram at the Ladies Van. We've hosted events for a really long time, and since COVID, we kind of pivoted to these virtual events, and we got a really cool few panelists today. We got Jess, who's my co-founder. We have Bianca from Off the Grid with a Kid, and then Campbell. Actually, what is your handle? Do you have...
My handle is just Campbell Hawk. First name like the soup, last name like the bird.
Sweet. And I think while we're waiting for people to get in, where's everybody calling in from? Where are you all calling in from? Go ahead and you can chat it at the bottom of your screen. You'll see a chat box, and then you can type it in. All right. So Phoenix, DC, Atlanta. Oh, all over the place. Look at this. Campbell actually just flew in from Washington.
Right, from Seattle just yesterday. We did the whole COVID test thing. We're doing it. We did it before. We're doing it again afterwards. Here I am. Happy for some sunshine.
Yeah, for all of you on the East Coast, I won't tell you what the weather's like here. So we are all over the place. Cool. Houston, Jess, are you on here?
Yeah, she's here. Okay. She is muted though.
All right, sweet. So we're a couple minutes in. We still got a lot of people coming in slowly. So as I'm letting people in, we'll go ahead and start. If you do require closed captioning, you can find it at the bottom of the screen in the lower right-hand corner. If you're on a desktop, it'll allow you to turn on the real-time closed captioning. And I think somebody can type in the directions on my team. Somebody will type in the directions there.
I got it, Brie, and I'm back. Sorry, my internet was spazzing out.
Awesome. All right, people are coming in pretty quickly. And we normally start off these. So I'm gonna do a quick overview of how we use these. We don't like to mute everybody, but be mindful of that. So if you are on and you're not speaking, please mute yourself. If you have something to say or have a question, go ahead and add it to the chat room. We get to as many questions as we can. We love engaging, like going back and forth. Since we do have panelists, we will ask, like, if you want to say something, just raise your hand. How you raise your hand is with the reactions. No.
Yeah.
Is it?
There's a button that says raise hand underneath the reactions. The reactions button is a smiley face with a plus sign next to its head. There'll be a full bar that says raise hand. That'll be the easiest way.
Awesome. And I do see that we got a lot of faces on here, but if you are on Zoom, if you do have a camera, go ahead and turn it on. We love seeing everybody's faces. Is there anything else I'm forgetting? I'm usually not the organized one here. Jess, am I forgetting anything else?
You're doing great, Bree.
All right, cool, cool.
We aim to keep this to 1 hour, so that's the only other thing to say.
We will keep this to 1 hour.
Happy Monday, everyone.
So I'm gonna essentially, we have an awesome panel for you today. It's about minimalism, how we do it. We got some, Bianca has been awesome Her and her son have been traveling around in their van, and then they recently got a trailer. I'm going to let Bianca introduce herself in a little bit. We have Campbell, who is the marketing manager for the Van Life app. She is pretty new to our team. She's been here for the past month. So if you haven't seen her before, that's why, but you'll be seeing a lot more of her. And then of course we have Jess, who's the co-founder, my co-founder, the person that keeps me organized and like on track. And she's got a really awesome setup in her van to learn from. So we have a few different perspectives of how you can minimize. I myself am not great at minimizing, so I will not be answering many questions. But we're excited to go through this today. The first thing we always do before we start is we do a check-in. So how is everybody doing today? We have actually, do we have that poll?
Yep.
There it is. Okay.
Up. You should see it on your screen now.
Awesome. So how you feeling today? Green is you're good. Yellow is you could be better. Orange is you're not very good. Red is you probably should talk to somebody now. We are all about the community. So we will, although we're not professionals, you can reach out to us anytime. We're an ear. We're always here to support. And in whatever case, get you the support you need if we need to. So point you in the right direction. But if you just need an ear, we're always here. Let's go ahead and end this poll. There we go. So it looks like most of us are green. They need to change the colors on these things because green is red, yellow is blue. It's really confusing. All right, cool. It's good to check in with everybody. We do this all the time on our team meetings just to see how we're coming in to get present. So let's kick this off. I'm going to stop talking and let the people you actually came here to hear talk. I would love to start with Bianca.
Hey guys, can you hear me? Oh, yay! Well, first, I just want to say hello, everyone. This is so wonderful to be able to see all these faces in one place, and especially because we all have a common interest, which is van life, living nomadic, camping, RV life, etc. So I am so honored to be here today with you all to share my story, and it is my hope that through sharing my story that I can inspire you guys to really overcome a few obstacles that you might be having out there on the road, and also maybe spark up some new ideas or just get started with some existing ones that you have just maybe had a lot of limiting beliefs and doubts around. And so maybe I can help give you some courage to just get started on that, because let me tell you, my journey, just like, you know, the one we all have in common, is very unconventional. And but when I first got started, I did not have a community like this. So big shout out to the Van Life app, because this is something that I wish I would have had when I got started with van life, because I didn't even know a single van lifer. I didn't know that there was a van lifestyle culture. I didn't know anything about camping. I didn't know anything about running a business while on the go. These are all things that I had to figure out on my own through trial and error. Okay. A lot of frustration, a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of really survival stuff, like really trying to figure it out, and like having no choice but to figure it out because I had questions that I could not Google. Unlike today, where you can easily open up a resource like the Van Life app and you can figure out where to camp and etc. So before I go any further, first, I really just want to take the time out to tell you a little bit about my story and like how I got where I am today. And so it all started in 2017. I was living in California, and I was living a lifestyle that I think a lot of us can relate to, which is one where you're trying to keep up with the Jones. And so I had a very fancy lifestyle. Like, I was in a plush 2-bedroom apartment, which, if you live in the San Francisco Bay Area and you are a single parent like myself, that alone is an accomplishment to have a 2-bedroom apartment. I was driving a BMW. I had the fancy corporate title, car allowance, expense account, blah, 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 blah. I was so happy just to say that I was an account executive, yada, yada, yada. But the reality is that everything looked fancy on the outside. But the truth was that I was literally living paycheck to paycheck and just trying to keep up with this lifestyle that was not making me happy. And I was just tired of it. I was fed up with it. And so a defining moment for me was a series of defining moments, actually. I remember my son was on the verge of failing 2nd grade because his reading levels were poor. And, well, I should say, well, not up to their standards anyway, the school he was going to at the time. And I was feeling the guilt that comes with being a single parent. Like, sometimes we feel this guilt, like we are not able to spend enough quality time with our children. I think even if you're not a single parent, you might still feel that because we're so busy, right? And so I was also, like I said, just tired of like all my money going to bills. And so one day I literally just had a thought. Like, this was after, for the first time in my successful life anyway, I was 1 week late on the rent, and I got like all these scary notices. And I was so frustrated because I was like, you mean to tell me, like, as hard as I've worked, that I'm 1 week late on my rent and I have to pay all these fees, and if I were not able to pay it, that all of everything that I've done would have just been taken away. So I was just like, no, I was so angry and frustrated. And all I wanted to do was just travel with my son and show him that there was more to life than being bogged down by bills and not having enough time to spend with your loved ones. So I made a Facebook post, and this Facebook post literally changed my life, guys. Like, seriously, I wrote it in a travel group and it went viral. And basically I just said that one day I wanted to travel the world and explore hidden gems with my son. Well, that one was the one I wrote on my public Facebook anyway. And people were like, what's stopping you? Yada, yada, yada. I'll go fast forward. Somebody asked me what was stopping me. And I thought to myself, it was just limiting beliefs and doubts. So I had a conversation with my son and I said, Carter, what do you think about traveling the world full time and I'll homeschool you? And he was like, sure, let's do it. And I was like, okay, great. So from that conversation, then I started finding people in the travel community because I knew that my own community would not be supportive of my desire to homeschool or to travel full time. So what I did was I wrote a post in a group and I said, hey guys, I got a big secret. I'm thinking about just dropping everything and traveling full time with my kid. People were really supportive about it. It gave me some confidence to go ahead and just like pay that lease break fee and sell all my belongings, donate the rest. And my son and I were on a one-way ticket to Thailand in less than 30 days from me making this Facebook post about how I wanted to travel, okay? So our life completely changed within 30 days. I went from being stressed out financially and my son on the verge of not passing 2nd grade to homeschooling him and getting rid of all of my belongings. So my expenses, like, they changed drastically. And so we moved to Thailand. And for 3 months, I was just able to focus on my son and really just adjust to this lifestyle of like having so much more money because I no longer had $3,000 in rent to pay. And I was like, whoa, this is amazing. So $15,000 worth of credit card debt that I had that was taking me forever to pay off originally, because I was just making a minimum payment for a long time. I mean, who can relate there, right? Okay. I was able to pay this credit card debt off in 3 months. So that was a huge weight off my shoulders. So after 3 months of that, my son and I, we just continued exploring different countries. And eventually we came back to the United States. And by then I was so exhausted with living out of a suitcase, checking in and out of Airbnbs and so forth. And one of the things that I realized from traveling in other countries is that when we would meet people, they would say, "Oh my goodness, you're from the United States. Have you ever been to the Grand Canyon? Have you ever been to Yellowstone?" And all these different places. And I realized that I hadn't. And so I'm like, why isn't that we as Americans, we're so quick to leave the country and go explore like other countries, and we have not even explored our own backyard. So from that moment, I really thought about, okay, how can I explore the US in an affordable way? Because trying to flight hop and go Airbnb in the US is expensive if you're trying to do that full time. So my mission was trying to figure out how could I continue traveling, homeschooling, and everything, and just make it affordable and travel at a much slower pace. And also not out of a suitcase anymore, because that was also getting old. So then I literally just like, I thought about living in a van. Like I thought about an old school van, and I literally just thought like, I just had that vision of like that old school van that I remember riding in when I was a kid, going through those little Christmas little, when in the neighborhoods they have those little Christmas shows where you just drive through, where someone in my family had a van like that. And so anyway, I spent all night looking on Craigslist for vans like this, couldn't find anything. I lost sleep over it. And the next thing you know, I found the van of my dreams, and the rest was history, y'all. Like I flew up to go get it, and my son and I just jumped in it, and we just started traveling. That was it. Like we just started traveling full time. There was no off the grid with the kid. There was no YouTube. I didn't have any of that. So I'm sharing this with you guys because I didn't have any intentions on sharing my van life journey or anything like that. This literally was just like a strategic, creative way for me to continue traveling. And I didn't know anything about RV life or anything. So buying this camper van that I bought, it was like buying a spaceship. Like I had to learn so so much. Okay, so I didn't convert our van, it came converted already, thank God. And but there was still a lot that I had to learn. And so anyway, I'm going to try to fast forward a little bit further. um One of the reasons why I'm here on this like today to talk to you guys is because the biggest challenge for me was not adjusting to the van lifestyle. That took about 30 days because I already had a source of income, which is coaching and public speaking. I was able to do these things and make my money stretch. So for me as an entrepreneur, a problem that I always had was just trying to make the income consistent. But the biggest problem that I had when I started sharing my van life journey was that people wanted to see it. Like, so basically, I had, like, what was happening was that my lifestyle started becoming a business before I realized it. So I had to accept that. And that was really challenging because for 9 months, I basically went broke online, being a people pleaser, answering all these messages about van life, which let me just say, I absolutely love talking about my adventure because when I started van life, I was like, wow, there's levels to happiness and peace. Did you guys know that? Like, who else realized that once you moved into a van or RV, that there is another level to happiness that comes from simplicity? Like, and so it was so amazing for me that I definitely wanted to share it because van life really just changed my life in so many different ways where I was like, yeah, like I'll spend hours and days creating content and chatting with people because I want to show people like I was able to pay off so much debt. Like and I feel this weight off my shoulders, and I now have time to spend with my son. And now my son, his grades improved. And so anyway, getting back to the business side of things, when there was all this demand coming from people wanting to know about my lifestyle, I had to figure out a way to monetize it. And I want to share this with you all, because every single one of you guys that has an IG, YouTube, TikTok, or whatever, if you're sharing your journey, you can make money from this. Okay, you don't need to have 100,000 followers. And please, like, for all the hosts here, feel free to stop me at any point in time, because I know I'm like going, and I can go, but I'll try to I'll try to wrap this up within the next like 5 minutes. Okay. But basically, you don't need 100,000 followers to make money online. What you have to know is your value, and you have to know what you need to succeed out in this van life world. Because like, there's companies that'll reach out to you if you are an authentic person with a great story, and as long as people like you, you know, they want to work with you, and they will pay you thousands of dollars to market their products. However, it's important that you avoid traps, because some of these companies will try to take advantage of you, because they know you might be strapped for cash. And then also, you don't want to get yourself caught up with brands that you don't want to work with and represent. So it's really important that you like set, you know, boundaries, and that you know what your mission individually is about, so that you can attract the brands that you want to work with. Because otherwise, like, you'll just be like panic accepting deals just to get something because you need gas money. And you don't want to do that, because like, you'll be working with brands and you'll see how easy it is to get paid from people that you'll never meet. You don't know what they look like, but they will send you hundreds to thousands of dollars in your bank account, which is nice, but it's better when you know that they genuinely care about you. And you'll also, you know, you might overextend yourself. So make sure you're working with brands that care. So anyway, I could go all day about this, but I want to try to wrap this up. So I'm just going to just give you some little bullet points here, as hard as this is. Okay. Be authentic. Never forget the true reason why you started van life. Okay. You need to be able to package your story and deliver it in a way that captures people so that they can connect with you, because they understand you. You need to be relatable. Okay. In order to be relatable, you have to be authentic and share a part of your story that you might not want to share because you're afraid of being embarrassed. Like, it is in those vulnerable moments. If you feel vulnerable when you're sharing your story, you're probably doing it right. Okay. Because that's the story people need to hear. Okay. Van life online is kind of like staged, because now it's becoming an industry. So it's important that you realize like those captions matter whenever you're taking these photos for these brands. Make sure your story is really authentic. Man, this is really hard to like wrap all this up. And I'm just gonna say this. Make sure you are diversifying your streams of income, because one is not enough. Okay. You cannot survive off just the brand deals and the collaborations. You know, so try to, number one, make sure you're true to your passions and monetize that. Okay, whatever it is. Like, so you might be selling a product, you might be selling a service. It's so easy to sell a product or service, guys. Like, you can literally be in business in an hour if you got a smartphone and a printer, if you need it. Like, you can set up things like a PayPal business link or a Wix website, and literally you can be collecting payments and shipping orders or your service or whatever. It literally is that easy. Okay, I'm telling you. But you have to get organized. You don't have to be polished and perfect to get started. But the most important thing is that you just don't forget why you started. Okay, because that reason is going to be your fuel when you are running across obstacles and you're trying to figure out like, what is it worth to stay up all night working on XYZ and etc. So
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
I'm just gonna pause and stop and like leave room for questions because like I could go all day.
Yeah, and I think this is like a really nice segue into like, you know, this transition period of your life between going from this like big apartment to like how do you make choices about what you're getting rid of and what is going to go into that suitcase or that van or that backpack or however you're choosing to minimize your life. And that was something that I know I personally also really struggled with. I mean, I knew about 6 months. I had about a 6-month lead time to like figure out how to get rid of everything. But it was not easy. And I'm sure that you had a similar kind of like, how do we make these decisions about what's necessary? And so I wanted to get into that kind of part of the story.
Jess, before we get into that, well, yes, we're getting into that, but I do have a little bit of a structure to this. So,
Cool.
Bianca, I want, I think like I'd love to. Number one, you're super inspirational. Like I think everybody who is wanting to make money on the road needs to hear from you. But I do want to stick to the topic of minimalism for this particular one because it is what everybody signed up for. And I think we got a lot of questions out there.
Definitely.
I would love to kind of, so the three people that are going to be able to hop up and answer any of these questions are Campbell, Jess, and Bianca. My first one is, what does minimalism mean to you? What is minimalism?
For me, it means to simplify in my life in a way that where I've really just been able to define and design my lifestyle according to like how I want to live and what I want to accomplish. So getting rid of things to ensure that I have quality problems, if I have any problems, that they are worth having.
Yeah. So, and for me, minimalism is not about having nothing. It is about having only what you need. And so if you really need a blow dryer in your van, girl, bring that blow dryer, right? Like that's what this is about. Only bring what you need to be happy and to thrive. And so be very critical about like what that is and if it's really going to bring you happiness if you want to get all like Marie Kondo on it, right? Like there are some elements of her philosophy that like really work well with van life for sure. And I don't know, Pam, if you want to chat.
So I am not a van lifer. My background is in digital nomading. I've been to 20 plus countries with a 45-liter backpack by myself, carry on only. And, you know, you start to value experiences over things. And for me, I was probably going to have to toss out the t-shirts and whatnot I was wearing anyway, because they're gross at the end of 6 months on the road. And you'll find that in a van while camping, if you're backpacking. This is something you'll see over and over, that things come and go. And so to place value in them, it wasn't for me. And that's how I took the step to minimalism.
I think the concept of to some people is a little daunting because you watch the documentary, you see these like bachelors who have absolutely nothing in their house and you're like, how do I survive with that? But what I'm hearing is that it's not about having nothing, it's about having the things that you need to improve your quality of life and not like adding on to that, weighing you down. So there's a couple things that we want to get to. I think that I would love to know from people here if someone wants to start minimizing, like let's say I am in a house or in an apartment and I have things, like how do you start to shift and get rid of it?
I love to share my experience. What I did was I got 3 bins and I labeled one donate, another one sell, and then another one keep. That's what I did. And it took a while because I had to part ways with things. I had to understand the like just the emotional withdrawal from holding on to things. That's what I did first. And then I moved the remaining of my things to a storage shed. And then after a few months, I realized that that was a waste of money. So then I just kept downsizing. And then I realized that like you really only need about a week's worth of clothing. And then you just like alternate. Like, so you have your like summers, your spring, summer clothes, and then you get rid of those clothes, and then you get winter, fall, winter clothes, and then, so.
Yeah, and since you brought up clothes, and I know Skylar just put it in the chat here, but that was exactly what I did. So on like New Year's Day or your birthday or like some memorable date, turn all of the hangers in your closet backwards. And then as you use the clothes, you flip the hanger the other way. And so if you use that article of clothing. And so again, at the next year, I think Skylar said she does it like every 2 months, maybe seasonally. If that hanger is still backwards, it's time to either like toss, donate, or sell, like Bianca's saying. Those 3 categories.
Ooh. One more thing that I did too, you just made me think about this. So before I did that, I closed my closet door and I grabbed a piece of paper and I thought, okay, what's in this closet? And everything that I could remember, I wrote it down because that was the most important stuff to me. Those were my favorite things. So those are the things that I like kept first. And then, because I realized that if I don't know what's in that closet, it probably does not even matter. Right? Or if I haven't worn it all year, like I don't need it.
Yeah, for sure.
Another great thing to do is try to find where you want to have your self-expression. So I'm a big dressing, like I love dresses. This isn't for everyone, but I love it that it's one full outfit and a piece of clothing. Now, I let myself have a cheat dress where I had a strict, only a handful of items for all of my shirts, my pants, my shorts. My dresses, I gave myself an extra one. Grace made a really great comment. If you go to the chat box, Grace had a really beautiful comment where she rents clothing because she felt her self expression kind of fading away. Having something like that, where you almost let yourself have a little cheat where you don't feel as guilty about it, it's a really nice way to make the lifestyle sustainable and have that longevity to not focus on your things.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the idea that you cannot have things, right? False. I know Jess has a costume box because she loves Halloween. Like Jess legit has a costume box in her van, and she lives in a van.
Yeah, I have a very big costume box. That's, wild that it takes up so much space, but that's important to me, right? So like we can make these decisions. I'm like, do you guys want to see my closet? Should I share that right now? Is now the time?
Yeah, do it real quick.
Do it.
Okay, I'll just do it real quick.
Something like a costume box is a really fun thing where your minimalism will look different for everyone. What's special to you is different than what's for Jess, Bianca, myself. I brought a set of snorkels to 10 different countries, and I only used them a handful of times, and they take up a lot of space, but it's important to me, and I love seeing fish. So your items will look different.
Mm-hmm.
Jess, can you show everybody? I'm not sure that everybody got a chance to see.
Yeah, I think I need to be talking so that it centers. I'm good. So
you are so organized, girl.
Yeah, that's kind of a jam. So each one of these is like, like underwear, like workout clothes, pants, shorts, t-shirts, tank tops, and then everything you just roll up so that it doesn't like wrinkle. And honestly, just pick clothes that are durable fabrics, wool if you can, or like high performance fabrics. I think there's something like Captioning is like a Patagonia thing, but I know, and obviously this is not like, some of these clothes are not super cheap, but even if you can go to, what's the thing, Poshmark, to try and find like Smart Wool or some of these high-end brands, because I've literally had a Smart Wool t-shirt for 7 years and like it looks amazing. You can wear it 5 days in a row and it doesn't stink. So like getting clothes like that is worth it in my book, because then you only need a few of them.
This is awesome. Bianca, I know you recently went from your van to now you have, I think, your van and a trailer. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
So how have you made that shift, and has it changed anything for you?
Oh, well, I mean, to be honest, I, for whatever reason, thought that because I was like moving into the travel trailer that I would need more stuff. And I realized that I really didn't. Like, I mean, but I wanted to keep everything that was in our van except for the clothes, like the dishes and stuff. I wanted to keep that in the van because we still can use it to go camping. So I did buy dishes, but I've learned from my experience that still less is more. Like the less you have, you will be happier. You will have less to do because you will not have a lot of laundry. We do our laundry once a week. We wash all the clothes that we have. If you have more than a week's worth of clothes and you live full time in a van or an RV, I don't know how you do it. Like, I mean, with more than a week worth of clothes, because all the clothes that my son and I have, they are clothes that we can like mix and match. So it looks like we have way more outfits than we do. So I'm super selective about every single garment that I have because I want to make sure that like I can mix it up. So it never looks like we have just a week's worth of clothes. But yeah, I hope that answers the question.
Yeah. And I think, we've been talking a lot about clothing, and there's definitely a different standard for women and clothing and having to wear different things every day than there are for men, or even non-binary people. And I think that, part of minimizing as a woman is kind of relinquishing that pressure of having to wear something different every single day.
Oh, I have some suggestions
yeah.
on clothing for van lifers. Well, this is what's worked for me. That's made me so happy because I remember at the beginning of my journey, at first I had more clothes than what I needed. And I got it down to a science, my wardrobe down to a science to where like everything I have is like comfortable and cute, at least for me. So let me tell you what works. Okay. Bodysuits. For women, like bodysuits are the bomb. Okay. Sorry if this is TMI, but you wear a bodysuit, you don't have to wear underwear. Like, you know what I'm saying, right? Because it's got the, it's like so bodysuits, one pieces, whether it's a jumpsuit, overalls, or a onesie. Oh my gosh. If anybody follows me, you guys know how crazy I am about onesies. Onesies are amazing because not only will they keep you warm in the fall and the winter, they're perfect for when you're at a campground and you go to a shower and you come out of the shower, you could just put on the onesie and then get dressed when you get back to your van or whatever. So I love those. And shoes, right? Trying to have don't have more than like 2 or 3 pairs of shoes. I'm trying to think what else. I don't think I own any socks.
So Mike actually, Jess's husband, came up with a great solution for her obsession with shoes. And that is that she has to keep her shoes in the front seat where she sits. So the more shoes she has, the less comfortable she is.
Oh, that's
You're
great.
like, okay, here we go. Can you see my front seat?
Great.
They're like literally all just piled right there.
That's great.
And then we also have like a hidden compartment right at the front of the van, and you just pull the board off, and then that's where we keep like muddy sneakers and shoes.
This kind of gets into the next topic that I think the men on this channel are more curious about than clothes, maybe. And that is like, what about the gear and the storage? And like, how do you choose what, what if I'm into all sports, or like, what if I'm into paddleboarding without an inflatable, like just a legit paddleboard that's big and bulky, or I have bikes. Like, what about things that you love to do on the road? How do you prioritize that kind of stuff or minimize?
Wow. I mean, we have a gear garage, and we actually built our van interior around our bikes. So maybe just pick what I always say about building a van, or like even stuffing a van with things, is like pick your like top three, and then prioritize those top three things. So like, let's say you want a bike, a paddleboard, and like mountain climbing, or like climbing, I'm clearly not a climber, mountain climbing gear. Then create the spaces for those things in your van or your truck camper or your backpack or wherever it is. And then cut everything else out. Like, you just have to know what your priorities are, because you cannot have it all in a van.
Ooh, on that note, so I just want to stress the importance of cycling through your stuff. Like, try to have good quality things so that, I mean, they'll obviously last a long time, but if you can really try to get on a cycle so that you can just like donate your things, like the old stuff, because it'll be worn after you've washed it so much and stuff like that, then you can, you can have a peace of mind because you'll have new things. And then especially when, if you're sharing your journey and you do kind of come across some of these influencer deals, they're going to give you like gear, which is amazing. So, make room for that. And then I also want to say, and please piggyback on this, because I don't hear anybody ever talk about this, but one time I thought my van was going to like catch on fire. Well, that's another story, but anyway, and I started panicking. And when I ran out of the van, I was like thinking about all of my things in it. So my suggestion is to have some sort of big collapsible bag, like a reusable bag or a backpack that is empty, and all your most important things. In the event of an emergency, if you can throw stuff in there, like, that will be really helpful, because then you don't have to worry too much. So, and this also goes for not just clothing, but like things like electronics. So when we go camping, all of our devices that are very expensive, I keep them in a backpack. So when I go hiking and everything, it's always on my back. So if someone were to break into my van, or if my van got stolen or whatever, like, all of my devices are also like strategic in the way that I utilize them and the way I pack them too. So I just wanted to mention that, because like, you need to be strategic about every single thing that you have in your vessel, not just clothing.
Absolutely. Talking about like tools and activities, something I find very important while living on the road is a first aid kit, but not everything needs to be in the first aid kit. So kind of focus on what kind of high risk activities do you do? What are you most likely to face? For me, when I was living in developing countries, I'm probably going to need some Tums. That kind of thing is what I'm going to prioritize in my small first aid kit, and I'm going to cycle it out depending on where I'm going. So if you have a van, you've got a tool kit, what do you need in that toolkit? Only cycle through of what needs to be in that kit. That kind of thing.
I do, this goes into one of my other questions, which is, and again, if you have questions that I'm not asking, please feel free to put them in the chat. Put your questions in the chat. We're happy to ask those questions. One thing that happens to me, I'm scared to get rid of some things, because I know the second I get rid of it, I'm going to need it. Even if I haven't used it in a year, I'm going to need it the second I get rid of it. And it's definitely happened before, but how do you all like contemplate or deal with that?
I mean, don't live on something that might happen. I mean, you can't live like that.
You have to keep moving forward.
Yeah, that would paralyze you if you stay in that mentality. So I would say don't think like that.
Well,
I mean, simple as that, Brie.
What about like, like some of us have tools like a spray painter or something like that, right? Like those are expensive things and you don't necessarily want to get rid of them and you're not going to use them every year. But when you do use them, like they're very useful.
Well, a suggestion that I mean you could do, I know I've done this, is I have friends all throughout the US that have garages. And they let me use their garage. So sometimes when I'm traveling through, if I do start collecting things, or if I'm in one place for longer, and that's usually how I start collecting things, I'll leave it there until I see them again. And they're usually pretty okay with it. And yeah, so leave some stuff at your loved one's house if they'll let you.
Yep.
Definitely recommend.
Idea. You can partner up with some other van lifers and like share a tiny little storage place.
Become friends with your camp share host through the Van Life app.
There you go.
Yeah. So another thing, cooking, right? If we got some cooks out there who like their spices, and you can't just have a couple spices, you have to have a lot of them, all of them, right? So what do you do? How do you minimize that?
Compromise. I am very much a cook, so I use chopsticks for almost everything now. I travel with a pair of chopsticks. I also really, as much as I hate to admit it, I use spice mixes. I used to be very against them, but they're very helpful when you don't have a lot of space. So it's just compromise, and like you can't always have it your way if you like it one way or the other.
This is not Burger King. Kitchen, I think honestly, try and do double duty. So for instance, I don't even know if this is gonna work because I'm trying to do too many things here, but like we have a pot, we have a cast iron pan, a pasta pot is down there. This is our toaster. So it's like super tiny. You just put it right on the propane burner. And then we have like a little saucepan. So it all fits in one drawer. And honestly, there are much more space efficient ways and systems. We just used what we had because I didn't want to buy anything else. But if you don't have anything, they do make like stackable things. But my rule of thumb is like, if it's in the van, it needs to have more than one purpose and more than one.
Right. Exactly. So for us, I have traveled for the last going on 4 years with only 3 things: cast iron, a pot, and like a tea kettle. That's it. And so what I do is I don't even have a lid. Well, I didn't have a lid for our pot. So I would put the tea kettle on top of the pot, and then I could cook tea and whatever I'm making in the pot. So I would also use the tea kettle sometimes to push down on certain things that I would cook in the cast iron if I was in the van, because I like to cook meals on the campfire. But yeah, that's all, that we pretty much had. And then as for the seasonings and spices, I love to cook and we love spicy meals and things like that. So what I do is, salt and pepper are like a must, right? I have an accordion door in the van, which, oh my God, I do not see these in vans that much. I feel like they should be in every van, but the accordion doors, they're like a little hidden little storage compartment. And so I have a whole rack of nothing but spices in there. And I keep Himalayan sea salt, pepper, olive oil, coconut oil. Those are like the ones that are mandatory. And then everything else is like brown sugar, because we like have tea and some other seasonings, but like I'm not willing to compromise like my seasonings. So I'm thankful for that accordion door, because you see it and then you don't. So it really doesn't take up any space in the van, because it's like, you know, that little storage area is hidden. So if you're converting your van right now, see if you can get an accordion door, because like they're absolutely amazing, and you can put other things in there besides like seasonings.
Nice. And I know I had seen a question come through on one of the registrations about like how many of everything should you have, like in terms of plates and bowls. And like for us, we have like 2 forks, 2 knives, 2 bowls, 2 plate. Like you only have what you need. And every, like if you run into other van lifers and you have like a potluck or something, like no one is going to ask you to use your silverware. Like everybody needs to be taking care of themselves. And actually Bianca has a really beautiful coconut bowl and fork or spoon in her shop.
Yeah, we sell a set. It's a coconut shell bowl, and it comes with a fork, a spoon, and this cute little bag. And we decided to get those because, like, number one, they're eco-friendly. Number two, they're really fun and cute to eat out of outdoors. And at first, I started my van life journey with like those bowls that you can get from like the dollar store. The what are they, like porcelain or something like that? I don't even know, not porcelain, whatever it is. But those bowls break and they're heavy, you know. And so, you know, you're like driving, it's just a pain. So we like to use our coconut shell bowls because they're really light and eco-friendly, fun to eat out of. And yeah, you only need, if it's 2 people, for example, all you need is like 2 bowls, 2 plates, you know, 2 forks, spoons, whatever. That's it. That's all you want. Anything more than that is just going to get thrown around your van. Like, you don't need it.
Tools you can get as well, which is why I really like chopsticks, because I use them to cut stuff, I use them to mix stuff. It's if you're skilled enough, it can be used as a spoon. So there's sporks, which is oftentimes something people ask about. I see Brian in the comments, Jess also mentioned it. A lot of people do like sporks. There are also utensils that are on one side a fork, the other side a spoon. So it's a double-sided utensil. Those are really a great option too if you don't want a fork in your spoon. Both are solid options. It's just kind of what's your preference. If you have no desire to have that and want some kind of semblance of a normal eating experience, you have to do what's right for you. I have one of the ones that are the double-sided.
Ooh, so I love how you mentioned the chopsticks, because my son, he loves to eat ramen. And so we have some chopsticks, but they are the wooden ones. We just like keep the ones from the restaurants that we go out to if we don't make ramen ourselves. However, one day, like, we didn't have any of those chopsticks. Like, we forgot to get some, and my son actually used our straws, like, for the ramen. So talk about multitasking. I love how resourceful you can get throughout this journey, because I mean, who would have ever thought, like, so we sell stainless steel straws, and like my son, he literally will use 2 of them like as chopsticks. So yeah, you'll get creative when you need to.
That's awesome. Yeah, for sure. I found myself like I'm normally like a knife and fork and nice plate type of person at home, but we went in the van for the first time like 4 or 5 years ago, and I came back and I like brought the bowl and spoon that I was eating out of in the van back into my house because I got it was like my new thing. So yeah, you get used to different things and you realize that everything has a function. It's not just like, you know, you don't just have things to have things, you have them as a function. One thing that Bianca brought up in the very beginning that I'd love to go back to is this like this idea that you deciding to minimize and declutter your life and starting to pursue the things that made you happy, like decluttering and traveling actually helped you and your son like improve your quality of life. He got better grades, and you might think like that's counterintuitive, right? Like that now that he's off traveling, he would pay less attention in school and all this stuff. So I'd love to know how minimizing and how minimizing has improved your quality of lives.
Oh, certainly. Well, whenever you have less stuff, you have like less stuff to be distracted, with. So, being able to live in the van and, not have so much stuff like we did with our like little fancy apartment, which back then I didn't even think we had so much stuff, but um just being able to focus on what really matters is great. Like instead of focusing on the mess, just everything that you have to clean up, everything from the pile of dishes to I don't know how often everybody does laundry, but like I was one of those people that used to do laundry when I had nothing else to wear. So now we do laundry once a week because that's, we have to do it. But just being able to like focus on what really matters, it changes the quality of your life. And like I mentioned earlier, it's about having quality problems. Like you can simplify your life and realize that in life you're always going to have problems, but if they're quality problems then they're worth solving because there's a solution or there's something that's getting you closer to what you're trying to accomplish. So it's more fun, right? And so being able to focus less on a mess instead of focus more on my son's education and just like exploring with him and him not having to stress about cleaning his room because he didn't have one. Like, we still had a routine though, like in our van, which I think is, another important thing when it comes down to even if you have less stuff. I think it's important to still have a weekly routine where you like, because you want to manage the little bit of stuff that you have. Like everything needs maintenance, and so yeah, I think that's ultimately what it's just really about. Is just like that simplicity that is gained when you no longer have to spend 2 hours cleaning up, and you can just like have now 2 hours to just like relax and not have to stress about the mess to clean up. Because also, if you live in a van or RV, y'all know you have to clean it up. You have to keep it organized. Like otherwise you can't even go anywhere. Like every time you park, soon as you start pulling stuff out, you can't just like hop in your van and go. You have to put everything back because if you don't, stuff is going to break, it's going to fall, and then you're going to have to buy it all over again. So,
yeah, that's a really good point because everything has to have a place in the van or else it's just going to shatter. Yeah, I love that.
Same if you're out of a backpack, a small little sedan, the rig size and what you're traveling with, it doesn't matter. Having a place for your things will make you feel better. And I find if you're not ready to start parting with your things, that first step of just creating a home for your things is a really good place to start to kind of get into that practice of the minimalistic life.
Yeah, and in the van, like, we've been living in here for 4 years, and so one of the things to try and like maintain this is 1 in, 1 out. And I'm not always the best at this. It is difficult in practice, but like if you are like, oh my God, this new t-shirt that somebody gave you, like, right, you have to decide, like, is this going to replace something in your closet? Is this better than what I have? Is it in better condition? And if you can't check mark any of those things, you need to just not accept that into your home. And I found that like I overthink every single purchase now. And a lot of time, like most of the time I don't purchase anything. But if I am going to like buy a new, like, I think I bought like a new Yeti cup or something. And I thought about that thing for weeks before I actually bought it, because I was like, I don't actually know if this is the cup I want. Like, will it fit into the little spot that I have? Can I drink coffee and water out of it? Like make these, have these hard questions for yourself before you actually purchase something. And I think I want to go back to what Cam is saying about this like first step of intentionality and like trying to get rid of things. Sentimentality is huge, right? We all have very sentimental like relationships with our things. So like, you know, there might be a prom dress in the back of your closet, or like, you know, this little memento that someone gave you that one time where you were doing that one thing that was super memorable that you don't ever want to forget. And for things like that that are very difficult, what I would recommend is honestly taking a picture, digitize the experience. If it is something like your favorite pair of pants, cut the pocket out and use it in your van. That's something that we actually do here. Like, I don't know if you can see this, like this is our favorite pair of pants and we just cut the pocket out. And now that's where we put our like phone cables in. So repurpose what you can in a smaller package, but then also just give yourself a real gut check about what the importance of this item is to you, and are you letting it possess you? And then that's how you can make some big decisions.
This is awesome. We have 2 minutes left of this. I would love to give everybody the opportunity to say like one last thing. If there's something that you were thinking about that you didn't get the opportunity to say, do any of you have any last thoughts or words?
Yes, I do. To all of you that are looking at all of your things and you're trying to figure out what to get rid of, just know that it really is an emotional journey. And I want to inspire you all to think about who might need that something that you're holding on to more. Because for you, you know, for certain things, you might have a sentimental value. But then there's things that are replaceable. But then there's always someone out there that literally needs something that you're holding on to that you barely use. They need it more. And then there might be something that is easily replaceable that you can sell, and then you can just buy it again when you need it. So don't be afraid to let stuff go, because the more you let stuff go, it's like you're making energy and creativity in your life for other things to like happen. So literally like make that space in your life so that those opportunities and those thoughts and those creative ideas, so that all that stuff can blossom. Because if you have too much stuff, your mind and everything is going to be cluttered and just filled with so much distractions, because it really is like a mental relief to get rid of so much stuff. And then you'll realize, trust me, you won't regret it. After you get rid of all your stuff, you will never regret getting rid of all that stuff, because you'll realize how much you can do without it.
Definitely.
And Bianca, before we go to the next person, how can people get a hold of you or follow you or anything?
Yes, you can find me at Off the Grid with the Kid on Instagram, or at Off the Grid with the Kid on Instagram, or Bianca Smith on Instagram. Those are the platforms that I'm on the most. If you're on TikTok, go follow me on TikTok, because I need some like energy, some like reasons to get on there and make more content, because I'm like a late TikToker. And yeah, I hope to see more of you guys, because I love connecting with all you. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Bianca. Jess?
Oh, hi, I'm Jess. Are you?
Do you have any last words? How can people get a hold of you?
Oh, sorry, I was chatting in the chat. Last words are, it's going to take you twice as long that you think to do this. It's going to be hard. There are going to be tears. You're going to have to make some very difficult decisions, but just know that happiness will come on the other side of that. So don't be owned by your possessions. If you want to get a hold of me, you can find me on Instagram, van.there, or Jess at thevanlifeapp.com if you want to send me an email.
And Cam.
Cool. So I'm Campbell, also known as Cam. You can find me on Instagram at Campbell Hawk, on Twitter at Lil Cam Cam. The I in Lil is a 1. And then you can also connect with me through the Van Life app at Campbell Hawk. Hit me up. Let's make this app great together. Let's connect. Let's meet up safely, socially distanced. And my last word about it for minimalistic life is take it day by day. You don't have to do this all in a day. This isn't a one-time thing to go through. Take your time. It's not easy. Finay.
Awesome. Yeah, this was great. I really appreciate you all for being here. You make this what it is. We're going to be coming at you with many more of these. I know for those of you who haven't made it to the last couple meetups, we're doing just real interactive events now, so you can connect with people, not just listen to people talk, and stay up to date on the Van Life app with events, and on Instagram. I am Brianne, and feel free to reach out to me. hello@thevanlifeapp.com or Brianne@thevanlifeapp.com. Stay in touch, everybody, and thank you for being here.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.